10 ER and hospital visits, no answers, just constant pain. She did literally every single test and did all the things that doctors were telling her to do, but wasn't getting any relief. That's when she came to me around 8 weeks ago, and now she is in a much better place. Her pain dropped from a 10 out of 10 just to a 2 out of 10 in 4 to 6 weeks. And I'm going to show you exactly how we did that throughout this video. Now, before you ask, who the hell is this guy telling me what I should do with my gut health? Well, I went through a crazy transformation in the last few years, had so many symptoms, which I'm sure you can relate to if you've clicked onto this video. But my name is Will. I significantly improve people with IBS and gut health issues, not specifically IBS, but gut health in general in 12 weeks using my multi-layered pillared system, which you can see up here. Now, I've gone through this in many other videos, so if you are interested in learning, the exact system that I use, you can go and look at my other videos, but this is going to be more on this person's specific case. Now I'm going to protect her identity a little bit, just if this YouTube video does do quite well. You can watch the whole testimonial on my Instagram, which I'm going to leave in the link below. But I'll just save her face for now, but you can watch that if you are doubting me for whatever reason, but I promise you that this is all very, very true. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Okay, I mean, she sent this message to me, which was like a testimonial message, but let's kind of set the scene. Okay, constant pain, burning sensation in chest and stomach. She went to the doctor, right? She did the CT scan, endoscopy, colonoscopy, every single test, all the stool tests, all the blood tests, and only they found mild inflammation, which was a big sign for us, but they didn't do anything at the time. All right. She was stuck in a life of misery, had to cancel plans with friends all the time, paracetamol 4 times a day, on PPIs as well. Not a fun life to live. Okay. Every test and no answers. And that's the hardest thing, is when you get no answers, right? That was the main struggle that she was dealing with. Now, let's look at 4 to 6 weeks later. This is her own words, by the way. Results are nothing short of phenomenal. Been so empowering. Changed my life. Incredible health coach. All right. She said that her pain dropped from a 10 out of 10 to a 2 out of 10 pain in just 4 weeks. This might be 5 weeks. I might be lying, but 4 to 5 weeks. Okay. And this was the exact WhatsApp message that she sent me after our time together, which is just phenomenal, by the way, because if you think of all the months of doing all these tests and nothing came of it, and she literally spent 5, 6 weeks with me, and now she's had all these results, it's like, how bad must be the system, because the system failed her. The traditional, in the UK, we have the NHS, but the NHS failed her, which is really upsetting because they did all of this, spent so much money, and they got no relief, which is crazy to me. Okay. But if you're wondering, like, how the hell did we get these results, especially so quickly, it's because of the process that we did. Okay. We looked at real problem solving. We looked at the root issues. We looked at a personalized path for her. And it was strategic. We weren't doing random guessing stuff and random supplements and random diet changes. We, based on her symptoms, using symptomology, we understood what she was dealing with. And then we used that to create a strategy for her to actually get her results. Pretty simple. So when she first came to me, one of the biggest things that I knew something was going wrong was this burning sensation in her stomach. Okay. And that's what I kind of do. Me as a health coach, I break down symptoms. I'm like, okay, burning in stomach usually equals gastritis, right? Gastritis is inflammation of the gut lining. Well, why would you get inflammation of the gut lining? One of the biggest reasons is H. pylori. So that in my head clicked of, okay, maybe she's dealing with H. pylori. And then we started creating a protocol for her to deal with that. Okay, we looked at other symptoms as well. I'm not going to go too in depth of her specific symptoms because, again, it's personal. But building out her symptom profile, which is what we do inside the coaching program, when someone first joins, I always force them to tell me every single thing that's going wrong with them, so we can figure out exactly what is the root cause. Because if you have 10 symptoms, it's easy to start piecing the puzzle together. Okay, now she had burning in the stomach, which was probably the biggest thing. Obviously, there was so many different side symptoms and whatnot, but the burning sensation in her stomach was the biggest kind of telltale of what we need to conduct. Okay, and once that came about, it was fairly easy for me to then understand what I needed to do as a coach for her. And I'm actually going to explain it to you, because why not? I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to go on to my other more detailed Miro board so we can help you. I just want to explain to you guys how my brain worked in this specific case. So she had burning in the stomach, right? Is this the right one? Yeah. All right. She had burning in the stomach. Why would you have burning in the stomach? Well, your acid is in your stomach, right? But what you have in your stomach is this protective layer, this protective mucosal layer. Where are we? I lost it. Here we are. Protective mucosal layer in your stomach, which prevents irritation from the stomach acid. Your stomach acid is a pH of 1 to 3. It will burn a hole through the table. Okay? So you need protective layers. And the reason it might start irritating is because that protective layer has now been compromised. So that acid is now touching places it shouldn't. It's going to cause a lot of pain. And that's what she was dealing with. Okay? Now, the first stage for her was repairing that mucosal layer. We used specific supplements to repair that mucosal layer. We also started on a non-acidic diet. Okay, you cannot be consuming things like lemon or anything that's going to stimulate acid, because that's going to increase the burning sensation, because you have nothing to protect you from the stomach acid. Okay, and then we need to figure out the root cause of why is your stomach lining not working. Okay, I mean, repairing it is great and giving her relief is great, but why isn't it working? Well, as I mentioned before, one of the major reasons is H. pylori. Okay, it's not always the case for people. Sometimes if you abuse ibuprofen or you just have a really poor lifestyle and diet, that can also come about. So what H. pylori does, it releases enzymes, right, which neutralizes your stomach acid. Okay, so then the H. pylori can thrive. If you don't know already, H. pylori is a bacterial infection. Okay, it's very common for people to go on holiday, get H. pylori, and then start experiencing issues. But when this bacterial overgrowth happens, that's when issues can start occurring. It's very, very common, and it's not addressed very well in most traditional healthcare. But it is more common than you think. Anyway, when it neutralizes the stomach acid, it makes this protective lining, right, less elastic and more fluid-like. So then it does a worse job at protecting your stomach acid. So when the pH decreases, the stomach acid becomes less acidic. This changes the mucosal's ability to protect the stomach lining. Okay, so now you don't have the protective layer from the stomach acid. Hopefully that makes sense. And that's what's causing the burning sensation or gastritis on a very basic level. And that's what I figured out what was going on with her. We did no tests, by the way. We did no GI map tests. We did no, and I'm not saying tests aren't necessary. They're very necessary to get the bigger picture. But for this specific case, we didn't even need to do any testing. It was just the fact that we used common sense. We used my knowledge of the GI system to make a conclusion, and we just started doing things that I knew would help her, and we adjusted the strategy based on how she was reacting, and she was reacting pretty well. So we continued and doubled down and started going on that. And now, again, she's doing so much better. But the reason she was failed by the healthcare is because they don't address this, which is crazy. They just sell you PPIs. Now, PPIs can work, okay, but what PPIs are? Protein pump inhibitors. I'm sure a lot of you guys are on PPIs or know people that are on PPIs. But what that does is reduce the stomach acid, okay, which can help short term for gastritis because, again, the stomach acid is irritating the gut lining because it's been stripped away. So it can help short term, but reducing your stomach acid is only going to further worsen this problem of neutralizing the stomach acid, as I showed you up here. And also, I mean, your stomach acid is so important, right? If you keep reducing your stomach acid with PPIs, a whole host of issues are going to come. You need your stomach acid to kill microbes, to absorb minerals, to release enzymes. So if you keep using PPIs long term, your gut health is going to be a mess. So that's one of the major things that we did. Of course, there was a bunch of other things that we needed to look at. Again, fatigue was a really big thing. So we needed to make sure the B vitamins were in place. Okay. That was another thing that we needed to look at. We needed to rebuild her gut lining. We need to make sure her gut microbiome was good. Again, if there is an overgrowth of H. pylori, it's probably because you've had antibiotics at some point and there's less beneficial bacteria to kind of combat the H. pylori or whatever kind of overgrowth you're dealing with. Let me go back to here. Okay. And that was just an example of what we did. And it was just common sense for me as the coach to kind of give that. And you can see how the root cause was the H. pylori or, the gut lining being stripped away, causing the burning pain. We gave her a personalized path of supplements, lifestyle, diet, all these things that we needed to give her. And real problem solving, right? This is what it is, real problem solving. Once you understand how the gut works, you can then actually problem solve and reverse engineer. Okay. And one of the biggest things is understanding her timeline, because we figured out that her symptoms started happening when she ate something dodgy. And it was like, oh, well, that dodgy food might have contained the H. pylori, which then overgrowed, which caused her symptoms. But understanding her full timeline of when symptoms started, it was very easy for us to reverse engineer and see what we needed to do. And this is just one example, guys. I've done this for many others, and you can see the client wins on my Instagram story, and you can watch the other videos I have on my Instagram story. A lot of people don't want their face to be online, so they oftentimes don't do a testimonial. But I've helped many people do this literally with the same system of just root problem solving, root issues. And it doesn't have to be the case of burning in the stomach. It could just be because you have bloating. We have to reverse engineer it. We have to see what the root cause of your bloating is, what real problem solving looks like, give you a personalized plan. And then you can get results that look like this, which is amazing because when this happens, it's like, wow. And it's just so crazy how a random guy on the internet who's researched this stuff for years has been able to help a lady more than a healthcare system. Isn't that crazy? The healthcare system of doctors who go to medical school for 6 years, a whole hospital, 10 visits, by the way, 10 times in just 1 month, couldn't help her. But 6 weeks with me, she went, like, how does that make sense? How is a random guy on the internet who doesn't have a medical degree able to help someone to this extent in just 6 weeks compared to multiple doctors who've done healthcare degrees? Does that make sense to you guys? Because it doesn't to me, okay? And I don't want to villainize healthcare system and doctors because sometimes they're life-saving. If you break your arm, where are you going to go? Okay, but for gut health issues, they seem to miss the mark a lot of times. Now, this isn't me telling you shouldn't go to doctors because you absolutely should. And this isn't healthcare advice because I'm not a healthcare professional. Always go to a doctor first to get the basic test done to see where you're at that's always step one for anyone. But in this case, when she's exhausted that option, then she came to me to actually get the help that she needed. Okay. And if you guys need help with this as well, by the way, please feel free to go to the first link in my bio, and that will show you more about how you can work with me. There's a free discovery call that you can book as well, so we can kind of go over your situation, see how I can potentially help you, and then we can go from there. That's a free discovery call on Zoom, very easy. If you want to book that in, the calendar will be in the bio. And yeah, feel free to go to the Instagram. You can have a look at these stories, but that's it, guys. These are just some crazy results. If you like this kind of video, I can do some other ones with other people if obviously I get their consent. But to be honest, this wasn't that hard. It's just mind boggling, as I mentioned, how crazy this is. But anyway, I'll leave it there, guys. Feel free to explore my other YouTube videos. Feel free to DM me as well on social media. I can answer any of your questions. And this isn't magic. As I mentioned, it's just common sense and strategy and logic. We use problem solving. I have a problem solving brain, and that's what I gave this individual to help her. Okay. And if you want me to do the same for you, I'll be more than happy to. Okay. Again, you can check out the other testimonials on the Instagram. I've helped people all over the world, again, working on these main pillars. With this individual, we knew that the gut lining integrity was the major pillar that we needed to work on. For you guys, it might be something else. It might be the fact that mental and emotional health, okay? It might be because your gut bacteria is so messed up, or your diet and nutrition. There's many pillars that we work on inside of the coaching program, okay? And again, if you are interested, that's the first link in the bio. All right, guys, adios.